Hello, my fellow phoenixes. I am coming to you post client session where the word that was used at the end was this feeling of weightlessness. And something you may not know, well, obviously, if you've never had a session with me, but I kind of tune into a client's field when I'm doing this work. And so I feel like I just left the spa because I was just in the vortex with this woman feeling so like deeply grounded and weightless at the same time. And it feels so good. And it's also really interesting because I knew I wanted to record something for this episode you're about to listen to for a couple of reasons. One is to make sure that you know that a new program has launched today, the day that you are listening to this, which is Monday, September 8th. And I wanted to also, though, speak to before I talk about this new program for mothers called Mothers Rising. I want to talk about how wild it is having a podcast because this podcast episode was recorded in a very different energy than the energy I have right now. And I think that's what's so cool about podcasting. It's something I want to keep in my podcast as much as possible. Like, not always this, here's the template and here's the professional version with the rules of podcasting. Like, I really do want it to feel like me so that we just feel like we're together. So I'm just naming that because the podcast that you're about to listen to today is fiery and fun and really powerful. And my podcast producer, hi, Laura, she actually reached out to me to be like, hey, I just want you to know this episode is like super fire. I love the energy you created it with. And I'm always like, are you sure? Like, I will record something in a different energy than this grounded, weightless energy and be like, I don't know, maybe that was too much. Maybe I should delete it. You know, it's like when people do a post on Instagram and it's like, felt cute, might delete. And it's just wild. So anyway, I'm coming to you now to record this to make sure you know about Mothers Rising and the energy that you're about to, dive into the vortex with me on this podcast was like, you're sitting with me, we're having a cup of coffee, probably more like a glass of wine, and we're talking about real life. We're talking about the mess. We're talking about the way through. We're talking about archetypes and metaphors. I'm bringing all the different ways that I relate to inner work in the real world into this podcast episode. I recorded it a couple weeks ago when I was like deep in the transition of back to school and starting home renovations. And so you're going to kind of get a peek into my real life in that energy. And I think that's important, right? Because like if I would just like recorded podcasts all the time where I was like, I am this enlightened Buddha coach on the hill, like, first of all, that's not helpful. Like, we don't need more people aspiring to that. We need people that can hold the complexity and the multidimensionality of being human, which is sometimes it's spicy and chaotic and real and that fire energy, and sometimes it's like this deep grounded, weightless, like wise energy. And we get to have it all. We get to have both. And isn't that so fun? Isn't that the point? I want you to feel that here on the podcast. So I guess that's as good a segue as any to make sure that you check out the Mothers Rising program, because this is actually, as I'm thinking about it, this is part of the Mothers Rising program because it is about bringing all of us to our lives and our motherhood and our womanhood. And I mean, if you just go to the show notes and just check out the details page for this program, I just feel like I wrote it from this place, like just so tapped in and connected to why it matters and what is the point and why I am the woman to walk alongside you on the endless spirals of initiations and evolutions. And so go read the sales page. But in a nutshell, Mothers Rising is a 6-week, what I call a mother circle. I got that specific phrasing from Kimberly Johnson, who is one of my teachers, and I really love her work. And she does a lot of circle work too. And as some of you know, I started coaching mothers like 10, 11 years ago when I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. And I set up shop as a coach. I was a mom coach, and everything was about the journey and the transition and the initiation and the becoming a mother. And then my work expanded and evolved. And now I work with, people who have not had children as well. Can you even believe it? But I was really feeling right before the summer, like, I really want to run something for mothers. I want to gather the mothers because a lot of the women that I work with are mothers. And so what I find on some of my group coaching calls or my, my Phoenix Revolution is like my circle, my group coaching call for alumni is like a lot of the mother stuff will come up and we get into it there. But I also think there's something really nice about going the same place every week for 6 weeks where there's both a circle of mothers who are going to talk about what it's like to be them, like the real honest range of their experience, whether it's like hot, spicy chaos, or it's like, oh my God, I feel so grounded and like home in myself and my mothering, because that is medicine. And that is, to me, that's the medicine that's actually like missing a lot in this world. That's like ancient technology of women's circles. That is like not about fixing, not about being the smartest person in the room with the most information or the wisest things to say. It's about being you. It's about saying what is true, not what is wise. And the alchemy and transformation that happens, the medicine that kind of infuses a group of women when what is true is shared, is so much more powerful than this, like, let me get my toolkit out and fix this thing about me. Let me fix my experience. Let me make myself some other way so that I can fit the group. It's like, no, we have so much of that in our culture. Some of it is, unavoidable. And so that is why I created Mothers Rising. And I also, you may remember that I initially thought this program was going to be something totally different. It was supposed to be called Whole Mother Rising. And for a lot of reasons, I postponed it because it was right after my Dallas crash. And I was like, I cannot hold this space right now. This summer, I just was like, business needs to be on autopilot. But also when I went back to it, it kept calling me back, like, don't give up on this idea. Don't give up on this group of women that is like kind of, you feel their energy pulling at the corners of my consciousness. I just realized it wasn't quite right. And when I think about mother work and when I think about who are the women that I call in, like who are my soulmate clients, the ones that I am here to support and help and guide and walk alongside, they are the ones who are looking for an initiated mother. Okay. And there's something that I bring to my work as a coach and a mentor and a facilitator that is different than, say, like a 30-year-old new mom. And when I was the 30-year-old new mom, I still helped a lot of women. There was a lot of stuff that I wanted to talk about, that they wanted to talk about, that they were going through. And I just think there's room for everybody. But I think it's very important that as space holders, we know where is our space actually? What's the thing we are uniquely qualified and gifted at doing? And I was like, of course. Like, I am a gifted seer and space holder for the full range of life and motherhood initiations. And so I know in my season of life, like when I'm looking for mentors and space holders for me, I am looking for initiated women who are not younger and hotter. And there's also women who are like, don't lose yourself. And, there's like that Champagne Society version of me that from 5 years ago that was like, oh, that was so enlivening. And I was different then, not better or worse. Honestly, it was just a different stage of my journey. And the women I call in now, they are deep-hearted, big feelers who are really soulful, who are looking for initiated mothers to share space with, to facilitate the conversations that they need to have so that they can continue on their Phoenix path and rise, right? You rise not once, not twice, like a million times. I mean, that's what literally this podcast you're about to listen to is about. And so if that is you and you are looking for, a circle of women, not to fix you, not to give you any hacks or anything, but also to help you drop into your mother wisdom, to help you see yourself clearly, to connect, to find like, where are the women like me, the mothers who feel deeply, who want to reset and resource and rise in a way that is really mindful and true. Mothers Rising is your place. We start October 15th. All the links, everything is in the show notes. It's gervasekolmos.com/mothers-rising. I would love to have you with us. It's $3.99, which is by far the most affordable way to work with me at the moment. If you want to be live with me on a call where I'm holding space and facilitating, it's not going to be so much coaching as much as it is circle work. But I mean, if you know me, I'm going to show up and I'm going to be there. So there's going to be a little coaching, but it's, circle work feels a little bit different. And I think if you're feeling like a little resonance, like follow it because you're going to love how it feels. some of the women in my world have been here for years and years and years. And I really believe that the reason why they come back or they stay is because of the group work, because of the sisterhood work, because of the circle work and how powerful that is and how good it feels to actually move through, spiral up in your mother and life initiations in a metaphorical, supportive, not fix me way, but using the connections and reflections like a mirror of a circle of women who are interested in the same journey as you, who are doing it alongside you, who are showing you there's nothing wrong with you, you're normal. And also, here's what's possible. We always talk about 1+1=3 results in my world, in the Phoenix world. And so, yeah, if you're feeling that resonance, everything is in the show notes. I would love to have you join us. It will be magical. It will be a little bit of this and a little bit of what you're about to listen to next. So I think that's enough of that for now. Yeah. Okay. Without further ado, here's a peek under the hood of what I was going through a few weeks back in motherhood, in back to school season, in life, in relationships, in summer, in childcare. Did I say renovations? I can't remember. And if you resonate, if you like this episode, please let me know on Instagram at Gervase Kolmos. Reach out. It's so nice to hear from you guys, to know that you're listening and things are landing for you or things are helping you. So I'm so grateful for your time and to have you in this circle. All right. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the Modern Phoenix podcast. I am your hostess, Gervase Kolmos. And, I've been thinking a lot about content creation lately in the wake of so many changes in the coaching industry and in the world. And I was listening to somebody's podcast this morning, and he was talking about having a podcast and how if our podcast is just like viral clickbait, if we're just like running our podcast through, this predictable assembly line of like almost like the mainstream media news outlets, like how they would run their content. You kind of get tired of like the morning news shows because you want to know like what's actually happening out there. But if we treat our podcast that way, which is kind of what's happening, we're kind of like losing the plot. Like the whole idea of the podcast was to be not this huge like Good Morning America platform. It was not to be a talk show. It was to be like one person's take, a small grassroots movement of talking to your community about what is real for you, what you care about, like interviewing guests that aren't necessarily like famous and have a million followers, but that have something unique, a take to share, a point of view, a lesson, and having these like really interesting conversations. And it's really sitting with me. And I'm just going to kick us off by sharing that. Like, I want today's episode to be a little bit more off the cuff, a little bit more me to you, not because I think every episode even needs to be that way, but that's just kind of where I am today. And whenever I sit down to record something and have these conversations, I'm always thinking like, what do I have to share that could enhance and offer value to somebody's day? Like, I think about time as being so precious. And I just think when you feel like you're talking to a real person, I feel like that is so maybe nourishing. I don't know the right word, but it just feels like that's what I want more of in my life. I listen to tons of content. I do tons of courses, like all the things, audiobooks. And I also hope that there are moments on the Modern Phoenix where you can come and just feel like you are drinking a cup of coffee or like having a glass of wine or whatever. And you're just having a conversation with me about what is it like to actually be a woman in modern times who wears the hats, juggles the things, cares about the things she cares about, and also is still so devoted to soul living, mindfulness, being her authentic self in a world that tells her she should really be any other way than that. And so I'm coming to you today a little bit raw, a little bit less prepared to share what's going on in this season of my life and some lessons and what's helping me. And hopefully you can kind of take what works, what resonates from it with you. So I'm sitting here in my dining room, which is where I guess will be recording as long as there's not construction for the next couple months, because although we had tried to plan this huge house renovation for June and then July, it ended up starting 1 week before school started in August. And that's not like a huge that's not earth shadowing. This is really like caviar problems over here. But it actually has been a really interesting theme in my life, this home renovation, for multiple reasons. Because it's been very disruptive to the natural order, routine of my life as a mom and an entrepreneur, who I now realize like just how much I value and relish and come back to life when I have my own space, when I have literally time alone. And that's something that I didn't have any of this summer. And I'm okay with that. Like, my summer, we're going to get into my summer in a minute, but it's just setting the stage for where I am today, sitting in my dining room. Outside, I can hear them doing construction on a shed that we've had in the backyard that we are refurbishing into a she shed, into an office for me. While meanwhile, they're not doing construction in my house today for some reason. They're like waiting for a permit or something. But the bottom half of my house and half of the top half is totally closed off for construction. And normally the house is filled with construction workers during the day. So I can't normally work from here or record from here. And it's been really interesting. The whole home renovation thing has been really interesting because I noticed I had a lot of stories myself about home renovations. One, this is something rich people do. I'm just going to put that one out there. I really didn't realize that I felt this way, but for me to invest some of our money in a home renovation felt like a huge up level. It felt like I really was at my edge financially. And also, our nervous system can only hold so much. There's a lot of nervous system correlation between money and romance and work and family and all the things, right? Like what your nervous system's baseline is set to will determine how much you can grow or bring in, how much love, abundance, whatever, like of your vision you can make manifest and bring it to your life. Because if your nervous system freaks out and gets so dysregulated and so overwhelmed when you start to bring in more, you will self-sabotage and shut it down. And this isn't something that happens consciously, it happens unconsciously. And I, ding, 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 have had a lot of meeting this first and foremost in my life right now. I want to backtrack by saying this renovation is something that happened because a few months ago, I was working downstairs when my husband got out of the shower. It was 10 o'clock at night and I started hearing dripping in the downstairs closet. And we found a leak from the upstairs bathroom into the downstairs bedroom, which meant that we opened up the walls, we found mold. We couldn't use the upstairs bathroom until we fixed it. So we haven't had that bathroom for a long time. But it didn't make sense to fix the upstairs without also fixing the downstairs. And it didn't make sense to fix the downstairs without like redoing the whole thing because it was done in like the 1960s. So it just turned into this whole thing. It turned into this whole fucking thing. And also it is something that I really wanted. It's something that I really dreamed of, that I was always like, oh, we will do that. We're going to upgrade this, this, and this inside the house when there's more time and money and resources. And it kind of sped everything up, which is something that's really interesting about being a human. I just think we make all these plans for like how long we think everything is going to take. And like, we like think we're little robots. We're like working on our calculators. How much time do I need for X, Y, and Z? And I know people that have been like, I am single, so I'm planning my single retirement. And then like within 10 months, they're like married with a baby. Like life works in quantum leapy, mysterious, fast forwarding ways. And that's what happened here with my house. Because as soon as we started to figure out the home renovation downstairs, we realized that my office wasn't going to fit downstairs, so that I would need an office. Oh, this vision I've had forever of having an office in the backyard suddenly became like, we got to do it. It's like now or never. And amidst all this came this ceiling that I had financially of like, what is possible for us? And my nervous system really feeling so dysregulated, so unsafe, so like, how do we do this? And freaking the fuck out. And so while it would have been fantastic for everything to like line up in July, we'd start this out. In July, we still like couldn't figure out how to have the money to do this. And it's really beautiful, I think, because when I started to notice like, oh, my husband and I are both kind of like spiraling because we've already started, we got the plans, we got an architect, like we know we need to fix the bathrooms, we know we need to do the shed, like all this stuff is happening. There's forward momentum. I can feel the momentum. I can feel the timeline is like kind of collapsing. And yet in the logical, linear, practical 3D world, the money's not there. So what do you do? And I think this is relevant because for a lot of women that I work with, it's always like, oh, I feel this version of myself, or I have this intention for my life, or how present and calm I will be, or how self-accepting, or, how I'll relate to my triggers and my marriage or whatever. But they can't figure out how to get there, how to get to that version of them, how to get to that regulated, responsive nervous system. And what we always say is the best way out is through. And so in my own dysregulation and total financial freak out, I had this aha moment of like, oh, I know what to do. I know that all of the creative answers to all of my problems always lie within. To put down my calculator, I have to stop, thinking my way and stop trying to solve this problem in the 3D world. And I have to go inward. And I know that might sound like a little cheesy, and I think everything about what I'm sharing today is in the hopes of sharing with you how I blend, inner work and real life. And at the same time, it works. It fucking works. So I noticed around the same time, this was early July. This was right after I came back from a solo trip. I took my 3 kids to California, and then we had this layover in Dallas, and we went to see my sister, and it was like this whole big trip, and it was really awesome. But by the time I came back, I was done, like done. And at the same time, I was putting all this pressure on myself to like keep up with my business and like post on Instagram and just do all the things that I feel I need to do as an entrepreneur to make money, to be visible, to make sure that my ideal clients can find me. And as soon as I started to put 2 and 2 together, I was like, there is so much pressure in my system. There is so much pushing and forcing and stressing and controlling and fear. And I am not going to miraculously come up with $100,000 from this place. I am not miraculously going to have the summer of pleasure of my mommy dreams from this place. And I believe that it is possible for me to get what I want and have the life of my dreams. And I am willing to do the work, and I am willing to put in literal work in the real world and also inner work. So I did some inner work and focused. I noticed all the places I was holding pressure, all the places I was holding tension, all the places I was holding shoulds and doubt and unrealistic expectations of myself, actually, since the summer, as many of you will know, is when my husband travels for work. He's a marine biologist. He goes out to sea for 5 to 10 day trips at a time. And he was gone all summer. Normally his trips get canceled. None of them were canceled the whole summer. So he was gone back to back to back to back to back to back to back. So I'm just feeling the accumulation of this on my nervous system and my conditioned mind that says nothing gets to give. Nothing is flexible. There are no solutions or possibilities. You just have to, like all of my clients, work harder, faster, smarter. If you just worked harder, if you just, did more, if you did more doing and more controlling and more planning and more prepping, you wouldn't feel so dysregulated. And anytime I'm in this, I'm like, this is bullshit. This is my conditioned mind telling me that my journey is linear, that it's not a spiral, that forcing and pushing and being perfect and overdoing it is going to get me where I'm trying to go, when I'm here for math that doesn't make sense. We have this saying in my world, in my inner circle, coaching circle, it's like 1 + 1 = 3. Okay. When we are out there pushing, striving, performing, playing by the rules, doing everything right to make money or be successful or have the summer of our dreams, we're doing 1 + 1 = 2 math. And it just is hollow. It just never ends up feeling as good as it looks. It doesn't end up feeling as satisfying, and it never ends. It's like this hamster wheel feeling of like, no, I just have to keep it going. I don't want to live my life that way. I did not quit my job, have 3 kids, create a business out of nothing so I would follow the rules. I want it to feel good. I want it to be mine. I want it to be magical and flowy. And also, I want to reach my potential. I want to take the steps and do the actions. I want to be responsible to my visions and my dreams and my creative expression. So I did what any well-intentioned woman would do. And I noticed all the places in my system where I was holding pressure, and I just let them go. Like an Instapot going around a table of Instapots. Release valve, release valve, release valve. Release. I gave myself full permission to release all the fucking valves. I leaned back. I stopped clutching so tight. I use this analogy from the book, The One Thing. A lot of the times they talk about you're juggling balls, and there's crystal balls and there's rubber balls, and the rubber balls bounce and the crystal balls will shatter if you drop them. And I was like, what are the rubber balls that I'm juggling? Oh, obviously Instagram. That is like such a rubber ball. My work, where can I put my work on maintenance mode? And what are the things I actually, of course, I'm going to show up to the client sessions and the, my obligations that I have. But there's a lot that I do in my work that is not that. I wish it was all just showing up for client calls, but it is so far from that. And so I just dropped all those balls and I watched them bounce, and I watched my nervous system relax. And I gave myself permission to have a summer of true play and pleasure, but also just permission to just be, permission to enjoy my time with my kids, permission to do it my way, and to trust myself that we would find the money for this renovation. It would all work out, but I was going to come up with the solution from this state of mind, from this nervous system state. And what do you know? Like 2 days later, I'm sitting on the beach with my husband. Finally, I just feel like so relaxed. We're talking about the finances for this renovation. The waves are splashing. The kids are running. I feel so grateful because we're like staying on Sullivan's Island at my cousin's house. It's just so magical. And suddenly I saw it. I just saw the whole thing in my mind of how it would work. And I'm not going to get into the details of that, but I did the next steps. I made the calls. I talked to my husband. And just like that, it was like we had the 1 + 1 = 3 plan. And we could figure out how to make the money work. And also, fast forward, now here we are. And I'm pretty sure we have figured out the financial piece of this. And we're back in the swing of school and work. And now work is not in maintenance mode. Here I am recording a podcast in my house that's having a renovation. The kids are at school. I have to leave in 16 minutes to pick them up from school. Like, we back out here. And I've been noticing in the background, my subconscious programming of like, rich people only have renovations, and meeting that edge with a little bit of like softness and curiosity. I had a client today who we were working on something similar, and she was feeling a lot of pressure. And then we kind of, did some somatic work, and then she started smiling really big. And I was like, oh, interesting. Tell me about the smiling. It feels like you just brought a little bit of lightness to your intention, a little bit of lightness to the story that we came to the session with. And she's like, oh yeah, I don't need to take it quite so seriously. It's not so life and death. It's not such a big deal that I forgot. It's not such a big deal that I don't know how to do this and that you're here reminding me. It's just like holding it all a little bit more lightly with a smile. Like, whew, life is a lot sometimes. And whew, I feel this program running in the background. I am at my upper limit, like in The Big Leap, the book by Gay Hendricks, the husband of Katie Hendricks, who was on the podcast a couple weeks ago, who you have to listen to that episode if you haven't. And that's where I first learned, like 12 years ago, the concept of upper limiting, and noticing like, this renovation, this shed thing, this like level up in my business is me meeting my upper limits. And I am sharing that with you to show how, whether it's financially or logistically or, however it looks in whatever sphere of your life, when you meet that upper limit, when you notice you're at your nervous system's capacity, like the top of your tolerance zone, how do we just like release some of the pressure valves, hold it all a little bit more lightly? Like, it's not the biggest deal in the world if, you make some mistakes, or it's a little sloppy, or. It's supposed to be. It gets to be. That is what it is to be human. And every single coaching conversation I have with every single client I've ever had, it is a process of holding space for all of that and reminding women that, A, you have so much magical, intuitive wisdom within you when you can relax into your inner knowing, when you can regulate and like soothe and resource. There is so much wisdom inside of you and so much creative flow. And also, it's supposed to look like a spiral of death and rebirth. It's not a linear journey. And remembering this is the next piece I want to share with you. Like, something that I am doing so much in this season, particularly the past week, is like anchoring in the metaphor and the archetype of my life. Okay, so as most of you know, I have 3 kids. My youngest went to kindergarten last week. My oldest started 7th grade and is having some big girl initiations. And like, wow, the threshold of this as a mother, like, wow, the threshold of this as an entrepreneur. I started my business for freedom in motherhood 12 years ago. And here I am, and they're all out of the house, and I'm building my dream office in my backyard, and I'm in my dream home, and it's all happening. How do I hold this lightly? How do I remember, like, to not put quite so much pressure on myself, to resource as I go? I remember that my life is metaphor. I lean into the feminine path of the phoenix, the spiral. I breathe into my soul expression of my life and don't just limit myself in this, like, I am a suburban mom of 3. I have to juggle dance class and karate and school drop off. And I have to do this, this, and this for my business. Because, circling back to the thing I started talking about, then I'm just like an AI bot. Like, what is the point? I am missing the plot. This is about inspiring your creative expression. This is about unlocking something in me that unlocks something in you. The woman way, the phoenix spiraling way of juggling it all. It's unlocking full permission to be in the archetype of the phoenix as you move through what can sometimes feel like a overwhelming responsibility of life, work, motherhood, friendships, relationships, self, your own body. You got to like work out, eat right, sleep 8 hours, like the whole thing. It can feel kind of like it's lacking in magic. It just feels like, who fucking cares? Let me just like Netflix and get drunk and like, fuck it. And if that's where you are, that's fucking fine. I've been there recently, okay? And also what tends to open back up my heart, what tends to quiet the noise in my head and get me from my head back to my heart, back to my soul's expression is remembering the spiraling journey of the feminine, the spiraling journey of the phoenix, remembering the woman way that I'm not here. I didn't create this life to force and push and prove and put pressure on myself. I created this life to fuck up and live and experience and be and have the all of it. Numb out on the couch with Netflix and feel like I am channeling from the divine. Like I want it all. I want that depth. I want that connection. I want that authenticity. I want that vulnerability. And I'm not going to get it 24/7, but I'm also not just going to settle. I'm not just going to pretend that this is as good as it gets to be. And something that really helps me drop out of my noisy, logical, logistical mom brain or entrepreneur brain into my heart and my soul is metaphor, is the seasons and cycles of death and rebirth. I teach this in Inner Knowing, which, by the way, we created a self-guided Inner Knowing course. I took the live course and I took all the value-packed trainings, and you can buy it digital. I don't know if that's available yet, but it's going to be soon. And so this is something that you would learn in there, right? Like how to align your life with metaphor and archetype and the spiraling journey of the phoenix so that it changes the way you relate to yourself. It changes the way you relate to your life so that it's not just the drudgery of like, let me wake up and make the breakfast and get in the car line and go to work and punch a clock and go to the gym. It's like, ugh. Is that really what I came here for? Like, no, I want to feel alive. I want to feel vibrant. I want to feel creative. I want to feel unlimited. I want to feel that I'm at my edge and working it, massaging it, and expanding above it. That's what I came here to do. And my guess is, if you're listening to this podcast, that's you too, right? Like the women that I call into my world are wildly curious, creative, wise, intuitive beings, sensitive, feelers, healers, women who are done with doing and proving from the conditioned mind and want to drop into the inner knowing and want to drop into the soul and a deeper, more satisfying, fulfilling meaning to it all. And I think for me, I have to remember that constantly because I feel the older I get, I'm 41 now, the older my kids get, the longer I'm in business, actually the more pressure I feel, the more responsibility, the more the logistical planning alone to juggle like my motherhood and my work, just sometimes it will like kill me. And when it does, that's okay. It's like I give myself permission to feel my feelings fully because I know that's part of the phoenix spiral. I know that letting these old limits within me and patterns and trauma responses and patterns of freezing and fleeing and fighting with people is me actually shedding old layers, is me actually rising into a newer, truer, freer version of myself. And even as I'm here sitting with you with like the renovation outside and the renovation downstairs and couldn't find any of my equipment for this freaking podcast, except for this mic, which my husband put on the table, I'm doing it. And it makes it feel exciting. It makes it feel like I have ownership and creative power over my life. And we can do it no matter what our life looks like. It doesn't matter if I'm a stay-at-home mom or like a CEO, like that magic, that feminine wisdom is inside of all of us, and aligning with the archetypes, aligning with the seasons, aligning with more of like our heart expression and our soul expression instead of the noisy mind trying to solve all the problems and attach all the trauma stories in the world. It feels good. It gets to be available for all of us. So I just wanted you to hear that from me. Like, that's really what's real for me right now. And I feel like every time I go through another cycle of death and rebirth and have another like Phoenix moment, I want to share it because I feel like I was talking to a client today and she was like, I just feel so silly that you need to remind me. I just feel so silly that like, you know, we just had the session that we had, even though it was like so potent and so powerful. And there was like release and tears and remembering, you know. I was like, yeah, because modern women got the bill that they're supposed to be both a man and a woman. They're supposed to hold both the feminine and the masculine. They're supposed to just like be one perfect arrived thing. And that's it. And like, that is too much pressure for any person to hold. And I want my clients and my community to know, like, I am doing this alongside of you. I have another friend who's in my Voxer going like, oh, I just feel like I've been phoenixing a really long time. I'm just like waiting for this to be over, like this initiation. And sometimes it be like that. And also sometimes there's like all these like micro initiations happening in between that are inviting us into something fresher, something truer, something deeper that are right there for us. If we can mine the lessons from all the hard things, if we can feel our feelings and know the best way out is through. Another example is like my kindergartner, my kindergartner is my son, and he's doing great with kindergarten, but it's like, you know, day 5 or something. And yesterday at the dinner table, whatever, I forget what was going on, but he started getting upset and then like worked up and emotional. And he was like, I feel like I'm not allowed to cry. And I was like, get it out. Everybody can cry in this house. So he has a big cry. He sits on my lap. The whole thing takes not even 5 minutes. He goes back to the other side of the table and he is gleefully laughing at his sisters. The whole vibe and mood at the table has changed because I was like, it's not a big deal. Your feelings don't scare us. Your feelings are not a problem. Let's just get through them. Let's let them come out. It seems like they want to come out. And my husband was like, man, he really did a 180. He was like depressed and now he's like sky high. And I was like, that is what it is like when we give ourselves permission to go through it, to feel how we feel fully without judging it, attaching our trauma story to it. We just let the body release the story, let the body release the trauma, let the body release the pressure valve, right? And on the other side of that is like this blissful, like, oh my gosh, oops, I forgot. Oh my God, life is amazing. Oh, I feel so clear. I feel so energetically aligned. I feel so much love. I feel so much connection. And, you know, so when I was sharing that, I was like, it happens for a kindergartner and it also happens for you. Like, this is not so complicated. But we make it so complicated because we've created all of these patterns of self-sabotage and hiding from ourselves when things get rough, or protecting ourselves from vulnerability or flaws or imperfection, instead of mining the lessons, saying yes to this next whirl around the spiral, up we go, and knowing there is wisdom here. And on the other side of it, I'm going to have 1 + 1 = 3 results and solutions and ideas and connections and life. And it gets to be so much better. And so this season is really reminding me, like, chaos itself is not a problem. Like, living in a renovation, like, yeah, so, you know, it's not the best. I will be very excited for that to be over, but that is not the problem. It's the pressure we put on ourselves amidst the chaos that creates these explosions. I remember, like, I was like leaving a crying message to one of my really good friends last week. And I was like, I have nothing to land or anchor into. Like, there's no sanctuary in my house. There's no safe space. I'm surrounded by people. I have to go to this office all day. Like, I was really spiraling. And I was thinking about it today and I was like, oh, I have nothing to land in, nothing to anchor into. And then when I hear that story, I'm reminded, like, oops, oh yeah, yes, I do. Myself, my inner world is always where I can land and find myself and remember. And it's fertile ground for everything I want to create in my life, even if it feels like I'm at a limit or it's not possible or I'm up against a wall. Every time I go through the inner world tunnel, when I drop into the underworld and I allow my life to be a beautiful living metaphor, a sacred spiraling journey into the unknown, I always find solutions. I can always land. I can always get centered. I can always get grounded. And there's so many ways that I do that. Like, this is the work I do with my clients across the board, whether it's in group programs or masterminds or alumni coaching containers or one-on-one containers. There's so many doors that we can open to remember who we truly are, what's available to us, that just how we feel doesn't need to be the limit if we're feeling dysregulated or overwhelmed, or like there's so much pressure or it's too much responsibility. My invitation to you is just allow it to be what it is. You don't need to necessarily like force it or fix it. Give yourself full permission to find the valves that you need to release to feel a little bit better in that day, and know that sometimes it's going to take time. And I know you think you have no time. I often think I have no time. And always, time is on my side. It's really not the capitalistic patriarchal lie that I bought into, that there's no time. It really is like, if time expands to fill the space available, that's Parkinson's law. But also, the more I allow my soul to lead me through time, I get 1 + 1 = 3 results when it comes to my time as well. I fill the time I have with more potent activities instead of just the hamster on the wheel, doing, proving, overachieving to avoid uncomfortable feelings or upper limits or dysregulation or whatever patterns in our nervous systems. And I just hope that you hear that and can feel hope. I know a lot of you are going to be thinking, how? Okay, so book a Soul Shift Intensive or come into any of the programs we have coming up. Right now, we're going to link them in the show notes. I've got Mother's Rising is next up. It's a mother circle. We're going to go very deep in this program. It's going to be a beautiful container for mothers to drop into their inner worlds, to rise up into the Phoenix archetype. But also, there's so many resources that I offer. There's free resources. There's podcast episodes. There's meditations. There's visualizations. There's facilitators, there's community, there's friends, there's rest, there's play, there's pleasure, there's nature. I mean, I could go on and on and on. People ask me about resource all the time. And, I could make you an exhaustive list of resources. And yet I could get you, on a call in front of me and notice that the one resource that's right there that you haven't tried is not on the list, right? And so that's not to make it seem extra hard. It's also just to remind you, like, there's infinite options. Your solution to release all those pressure valves, to show up in your modern life and get in the car line on time and submit all these things and get all these fucking apps for your extracurriculars and your kids and your teammates and your Slack channels and your speaking engagements and all the things. It's all possible. It's all available to you. And I invite you to set the intention to land and anchor and ground in yourself, in your inner world, to know that every hard thing is bringing you earth lessons, soul wisdom from it. And once you integrate that wisdom, once you feel that shift, that clarity, that spark, that rising, you're never the same. You are changing your life. You are breaking your limits. You are breaking generational cycles. And this is how we go up and up and up, whirling around the Phoenix spiral. And I am so grateful to have you along the ride with me. I got to go pick up my kids for school, or else I would probably talk for another hour. So I'm going to leave it there. I love you so much. If you want to book a 90-minute one-on-one with me, the link is in the show notes. If you're interested in Mother's Rising, the link is in the show notes. If you want to connect with me on Instagram, I would love to hear what's real for you. If you want more content like this, find me on Instagram at Gervase Kolmos and let me know. I love you so much. Thank you for spending your precious time with me, and let us Phoenix together through this back to school time.